Welcome to the AACFB's 2025 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I'll be your host. Our presenter today is Alex Erickson with Navitas Partner Funding. Navitas is both a funding source member and a silver sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support of the association. Before I turn it over to Alex, I'd like to go over a few items to make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that will allow you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions in the box and they'll be answered by the end of the webinar. The entire webinar should take no more than 30 to 45 minutes. And for those of you who would like to review this at a later date, it will be posted on the AACFB Meet the Funder page of the website and will be emailed out to the membership. At this time, I will turn it over to Alex. It is all yours.
Thanks, Monica. Hello, everyone. My name is, as Monica stated, I'm Alex Erickson. I am the Vice President of Navitas Credit Corp, and I'm here to present our broker division, Partner Funding, to all of y'all so you can get a little better feeling of who we are and what we can do. So with that being said, I'm going to head and start the presentation. Here's just a quick synopsis of what we're planning to go over. I want to give you a little bit of insight on who Navitas is, who Partner Funding is, how we kind of be, how we fund it, all things like that, and then go into a little bit more of our programs and services that we provide, as well as our portals and additional tools that we can provide to you to make you guys as brokers more successful and helping out your customers and or vendors. So, as I stated before, we're owned by Navitas. Who is Navitas? We were founded in 2008 and headquartered in Ponte Vedra, Florida. Navitas is a nationwide provider of equipment financing. That specializes in both small and medium-sized business. Our products are delivered through highly diversified and targeted origination channels that are broken out through many different industries, many different geographic areas, and things like that. The cool thing about it is that throughout all of those different divisions that we have, it gives Navitas as a whole a very broad understanding about all the different types of equipment, different types of industries, and things like that. So we can come together to form and share all that knowledge with one, so we can provide the best service possible, no matter what your specialty is. Navitas became a wholly owned subsidiary of United Community Bank. That is the bank that holds us in February 2018. To give you an idea, UCBI has $19 billion in assets. We do book and hold every single one of our deals. And so there's never any confusion about us selling portfolios or selling your deals off. We hold the broker's deals from start to finish. So to give you a little bit insight about who Partner Funding is, we actually have two different broker divisions made up of Partner Funding. The first one is Ultimate Finance, which is also known as Partner Funding Assets. They're located in Nebraska. I am actually a part of Ultimate Financing. We are a credit-based lender with a hard asset flavor. So the way that works is, depending on what type of asset you have, it gives you more flexibility in terms of how you can get approvals or how we look at different deals. Quick example of that is say you have a B customer that is presenting us with an excavator. They're willing to put a little bit more money down on the equipment, which puts us, the lender, at a stronger equity position. Things like that can lead us to giving closer to an A rate because of the equity that we have in the asset, versus giving them the standard B rate that you would get as a B credit. The other broker division that is called Credit-Based Lending, they're located in South Carolina. They're a little bit more of your traditionalist, score a little bit more of a scorecard lender that wants, certain time of business, certain FICO scores and things like that. What makes them unique throughout all the industry is they are a generalist that really don't have too much of a sway or opinion on terms of the equipment. The credit-based team used to be known as RLC, which some of you guys may or may know was owned by and ran by Dwight Galloway. And I remember sitting down with him at one point in time and just said, "Hey, Dwight, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little about you guys and what you do." And the famous quote that I always use that I always hear from him is that he said, "In terms of the equipment, we will finance the air in the sky or the grass on the ground, as long as you have a strong credit package profile available to you." So there are more of their generalists that doesn't really care how hard or how soft the collateral is. They'll be willing to work with you if the credit is there. So that kind of gives you a quick breakdown in terms of how the two broker divisions work. There are some automatic restrictions across both platforms that unfortunately we don't provide. Some of those restrictions are unfortunately long haul trucking and sleeper cabs, along with dry vans and reefer trailers. I don't think I necessarily need to get into how difficult that industry is right now. And unfortunately, Navitas is taking a pause in terms of that. Call haulers, we're really focusing, those are really more restricted for the Cottrell trailers, the ones that are attached to the sleeper units. If you get like a 1 or 2 car hauler, we can look at those type of things. But in general, the larger car haulers are unfortunately restricted. We also don't do any salvage or rebuilt titles. It's just unfortunately one of the things that our bank does not allow us to do, or we don't necessarily have any interest in. As well as solar panels and aesthetic lasers and med spas. So in general, both broker divisions, we really do focus on more A to C plus type of credit. That's just always been our sweet spots from day one, and that's what we really strive to be one of the best in the industry at, giving good quality deals to the A and C plus credits. Our deal size does range, as we stated before, is more of a small ticket shop all the way up to the lower middle market, which means that we can go essentially from 10 grand up to $2 million. In terms of the months that we finance, our standard months that we're offering is right now is about 60 to 72 months. It doesn't, but that doesn't mean that we can't go lower or higher. As you can see, the overall range that we can offer is 12 months to 84 months. As a funding source for you guys as the brokers, we offer many different type of platforms to you guys. So depending on where you're at in your spectrum of your career or your business, we're willing to broker the deals. We're willing to assign deals, as well as do a true discount to your deals, whichever business way works best for you guys. Even the cooler thing about it is that we do also look at portfolios from time to time. So if you have a small portfolio and you're wanting to, sell that portfolio, by all means, Navitas would be able to look at that type of thing. There are multiple different styles of lending. I broke into it a little bit in terms of the South Carolina team that they do. They're a little bit more of a scorecard generals type of lender. For my group that's in Nebraska, we really specialize in what's called common sense lending. We want to know as much information as we can about the customer, as in, why are they in this industry? What are they doing? Why do they need this equipment? We're always asking the whys to it. And then how we do it is we're not looking at the score at the end. We're looking on how leveraged the customer is. Do they have a home? How well have they paid other business loans? As well as if we get bank statements, do they have enough money to cover the payment, or do they have enough money to keep themselves satisfied if something would arise or an issue would come up with the equipment? At the end of the day, we put all that together and take a look at it. So what we would identify as an A and B credit is not necessarily what other lending sources would look at as A and B, because I've seen, and I'm sure all of you brokers have seen, 640 credit scores where really the only issue is a medical collection for a couple $100, and then they're delinquent on a credit card for like $300 or something like that, and that's what's driving their score down. But they've been in business for 10 years and have well-established credit, business credit that they pay perfectly on time. For people, for my group in Nebraska, we would consider that more of an A lender, potential A lender, depending on what the rest of the information says. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, we've also seen 800 FICO scores where they have 2 credit cards for $100 each. For us, just because they're an 800 FICO score doesn't necessarily mean that they are an A lender. And I would say that South Carolina's branch also would kind of view that the same. We understand as a funding source that speed is king in this industry. So we take a lot of pride by letting you know that from the vast majority of your deals, it takes our either credit department, whether it's Nebraska or South Carolina, it takes us about 2 hours to turn an app-only transaction. In terms of the larger financial deals, we are quicker than 24 hours on some deals. But if you, understand at the same time, if you submit us a $2 million deal, it might take longer than 24 hours to get you an answer on something like that. Funding is the exact same thing. It takes about 4 hours for us to turn a deal. So in theory, you have a non-title deal for 50 grand. You submit the deal in first thing in the morning. We get you approval within, if it's 8 o'clock Central Time where I'm located, we get you approval by 10 o'clock. You turn around and you get the deal signed up through eDocs and back to our funding team. Funding team reviews it. Everything's great. We can fund deals in the same day. And it's just obviously depending on the timing of the deals when it's submitted and when the docs are submitted. We have an application-only product up to 250 grand. We do require the full broad spectrum financials, which is usually 2 years tax returns, interims, bank statements, debt schedule, personal tax returns, and PFS at 500,000. We do have a sliding scale in between those two different sizes. So say you have more like of a $350,000 deal, you don't necessarily want to get all those financials or additional information provided. We do allow, if they have, like right now in this time of year, if they have their 24 corporate tax returns done, most of the time we can just look at it with banks and those at the 350 level. So that gives you kind of a small idea of how, as the closer you get to 250, the less stuff we necessarily require, but the closer you get to 500, then you're going to start seeing the more standard of 2 years and all that type of stuff. We do have a startup program that both divisions utilize. It is up to 50K, depending on how long they've been in business. I think it's 0 to 1 years. It's up to 35 grand. And then in between 1 to 2 years, it's 50K. To give you a little bit more broad spectrum idea of what we can do, we handle title equipment. We do a lot of title equipment. So we're very familiar with how each individual states and DMVs act certain ways and have certain nuances. We have teams that are specialized in that to handle each one of those states. So anytime the broker would have questions about, how does Massachusetts handle the titling if we're buying an equipment title piece in Florida, we would be able to answer all those type of questions for you. So you wouldn't have to have that fret over whether or not it would be a fit for us or how we would make this deal work. We can do that. We do have custom programs available to our brokers. So we want to try to build as much good relationships as we can with each and every one of you. So if you have certain programs or you specialize in a certain area or have a certain vendor that you do a lot of business with and you want to try to increase those sales, by all means, we will create a program that best fits you and your vendor's needs to make you guys as successful as possible, which would obviously lead to more potential fundings with us. We do offer flexible structured payments. It's not uncommon for us to offer 0 down on the deal, deferred payments, seasonal payments. I love seasonal payments. I can't tell you how many times I look at a deal and the deal looks great, but I look at their banks and they're located in Massachusetts, for example, and they have bank statements that show that it winds down to 2 or 3 grand each month. By all means, why would I put your customer at risk of defaulting on us and put your relationship slightly at risk by them not performing, when I could just simply say, hey, in the winter months when things are slow, why don't we offer $100 for the winter months to get you through the winter? It just makes a lot of it kind of goes with that common sense type of lending. Why make the life harder for you, the broker, and you, the customer, if some simple solution like that is available? And that's something that we take a lot of pride in. Corp only, we do consider corp only. While it's not necessarily our favorite type of product to offer, by all means, it's definitely something that's out there in the industry, and there's a lot of companies that are well deserving of a corp only style type of business. That needless to say, I prefer not to look at 3-year-old company that's owned by, father and son thinking they can deserve corp only type of deals. Those, I'd rather see 30-year-old businesses that have been, that have borrowed a very long time, have payments that show that they can handle corp only type of loans, that type of stuff. And then finally, pre-funding, we offer up to 100% to our qualified vendors. Pretty much in this day and age, most of vendors are requiring 100% upfront. That's just the nature of the beast is. So by all means, as long as that we get comfortable with the vendor and how they look and all that type of stuff, we will be always willing to offer 100% to them. To break it down a little bit more into how you're speaking to, who you'll be speaking to, and how you'll be handling, who will be handling your type of account. We take a lot of pride that our teams that we made both in credit and docs and funding, both teams have a very long standing of being in the industry. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. The person that's ahead of me, Dean, he has been in the industry for 30 plus years, and rarely the average comes out when you look at our side as well as the South Carolina side. We've been their average analyst has been in the industry for at least 5 years. I've already kind of spoken on this a little lightly, but we'll go, in terms of our decision-making process, we want to look at how well the business has been existent, time of business, who owns the business, location, industry, as well as our current exposure with the customer. Then obviously, does the customer, do they have the ability to make the payments? Are they able to, if they take this loan, are they able to pay us back? What's the likelihood of that? Equipment use, cost, location, appropriateness for the industry they're in. I've had a deal before where I had a skydiving school asking me if they wanted to finance a dump truck. To this day, I don't think I ever actually got the answer to that question, but that was a deal that I have come across my desk. So absolutely, we want to make sure that the equipment that they're needing makes sense for the industry that they're in. Credit decision matrix based on transaction size, corp only and PGs to approve and decline. I mean, we've already kind of talked about corp only, personal guarantees, that type of stuff. And at the end of the day, there might be little nuances, little ways of how each division goes to market, but at the end of the day, we all follow one credit policy, which is Navitas. While some groups have sales reps and people that help out, one of the greatest things that we can offer at Navitas is that we give you direct line communication to our credit analyst and to our funding analyst. I can't tell you how many times before you would play the telephone game where the credit analyst tells the sales rep, goes to you, the broker, and tells you how to do things. And then you're stuck between the back and forth, let alone if the sales rep is out to lunch or something like that, or the credit analyst is out to lunch, you're stuck waiting all this time. And as I said before, at Navitas, we recognize that speed is king in this industry. So we've cut out that middleman process. We want you to speak to the person that made that direct decision, whether it's the analyst that made the deal and you're calling them up to say, hey, why'd I get this type of rate or down payment type of thing? So you can hear it directly from the horse's mouth. Same idea with docs and funding. Just go directly to them. We encourage you guys to go to them because we want to provide as quick of a service as possible. Our highly trained analysts have the deep knowledge and decades of experience you need. That's kind of the summation of what I said. We try very hard to give you as much details as possible up front and as quickly as we can, and as well as know that it's not coming from someone that was working as a gas station attendant 6 months prior. All of our analysts have been in this business long enough that they can give you a really good answer and really good feedback on every one of your deals. Oh, this is a fun one. We do not charge interim rent. I understand as a bank, there's some benefits to that, as well as to you as the brokers and your customers. I understand there is a useful need for that type of product. The way that Navitas looks at it is we struggle. Well, I should say that our groups struggle with the idea of charging interim rent where customers are making payments towards that go to nowhere. Because I can't tell you how many times have I heard stories about customer calling in, they've been on interim rent for 6 months, and they put in $8,000 worth of payments of interim rent. They call for their payoff after they make their first official payment, and they said, "Hey, I've already put $8,000 into this deal. Where did it go?" I understand as a bank standpoint, that's extra profit, which is wonderful. But for us at the broker divisions of Navitas, we don't like the idea of having to have that awkward conversation, whether you have it or Navitas has it, of where did that $8,000 go? So we always, we will never charge interim rent. We always prefer that way. And it just makes the deal a little bit cleaner and less headache on you, the broker side, on having to explain where that money went. Our broker portal is one of our favorite features that we like to offer currently to our customers. It gives you a chance to submit applications, as well as check on the application status, where are we at in terms of where it's being reviewed, or if it's approved or anything like that. It also allows you to, we provide really good functionality towards it. A lot of brokers give us a lot of praise on how simple and easy it is for our portal to be used. The cool thing too is that you can you have a list of all your deals. You want to look at just the approved deals. You can sort and filter that type of thing. You're looking for a specific customer. You just have to type in their name, and it'll autofill and sort all that information. So you always have that information right at your fingertips. Documentation wise, we do a lot of electronic signatures. It can be either, depending on if you're a discounting partner with us or just a regular customer, we can put the docs in your name or in the Navitas names. The nice part too is that we have an auto feature inside our portal that lets you know where your status is with your customer. So say you have 2 PGs that are signing a contract, you can look at our portal and say, "Hey, I noticed that PG1 signed the contract, but it doesn't look like PG2 hasn't signed it. That's why I haven't got the rest of the information back or the rest of the package back." And so you can respond accordingly to whoever hasn't done anything yet and be able to keep moving forward at a quick speed. Electronic acceptance activation. This is a little bit newer to us. I think it's only about a year old, but we've gotten to the point where we created enough language within this document that we no longer require a verbal every single call. There will be times where a verbal might necessarily be needed, but that's just another step of playing phone tag with your customer, especially if they're on vacation or things like that, or they might not be readily available. It just provides another simple process to get your deals done without any hassle. One note I do want to add to the documentation that's not listed on this slideshow is that we are actually on the process of launching our e-notary product out to all of our brokers. Unfortunately, it is not quite ready yet. It's currently in beta testing, but hopefully we'll be launching that soon to product to all of our brokers available. Here's a kind of a little bit picture of it. As you can see in the top picture, that's just how the main page looks. Email and your password to get you signed in. If you look at the first page of this one over here, you can see that we have a bunch of different sales tools that give you our quick guidelines on how we look at deals, how we look at fundings. If you have any type of what our point structures are, different programs, that type of stuff. As well as if you look at on this dashboard over here, here's the area where I said that you can filter out your different accounts and things like that, so you can get a better idea, a drawdown exactly on what type of customer you're looking at, or what type of status you have, as well as it gives you your overall numbers on how well you've done. Again, up here you can filter that as well to show how you did last month, last week, 2 years ago, that type of thing. So you can always have your numbers available at your fingertips. One of the cool things that we were really proud of that we made on this that I don't think we probably do enough discussing out loud is our good customer report. I mean, how many times as you as a broker have been wanting to, it's in the middle of July. It's a little bit slow right now. We haven't, your vendors might not necessarily be sending anything because they're a little bit slow because, again, it's summer. What a great opportunity that is for you guys to try to find new leads while we're waiting for summer to end. We have a good customer report that will pull every single customer that you have ever booked with us It will run a quick analysis in terms of how well they have paid Navitas, and if as well as it'll generate a number for you in terms of how much we're in theory willing to accept as an additional credit list. So it gives you the opportunity to reach out to those customers individually and say, "Hey, you've been a good paying customer of us. We're right now we'd like to offer you a pre-qualification of 37 grand based off of that picture, if you guys would be interested." So it gives you guys more leads to keep recycling the customers that you currently have booked with Navitas, or I should say, the good customers that you have with Navitas, to allow you to constantly be in touch with every single one of your customers that you have touched while you're at Navitas. Preview a transaction. That's also another cool feature that we have. It will give you, if you ever have a question on whether or not it's a deal for a certain deal for whatever group that you're a part of, you could put together. There's a quick little area for you to fill out that gives us an idea of the industry, roughly the cause, type of equipment, and any additional notes that you want to add to it. So, and then it gets submitted directly to the credit department. So that way, once we see it, we can respond back to you guys quickly in terms of, hey, yes, this is a fit because of X, Y, and Z, or not a fit because of ABC type of thing. We also have an equipment industry checker. I kind of went over briefly some of the equipment restrictions that we have. But if you wanted a more detailed list of what we would look at and what we won't, as well as what type of industry that we would consider and whatnot, that's also available to you guys at a click of a button. Our vendor web tools, we have customers all the time, especially vendor-driven brokers, that are looking for the next competitive edge to provide to their vendors. As I'm sure you see a lot of out there, there's a lot of click to financing buttons out there, as well as financing tabs available out there. As brokers, sometimes not all brokers have the ability to create that themselves, and so they run the fear of constantly falling behind in terms of technology. What Navitas does is that we offer that expertise and availability directly to you guys. It will be sent to us. We send it to our marketing team. They'll work with your vendor to create a financing tab side, any sort of applications that you want to have, so that you can keep up with the technology arms race that is currently happening right now, which is a really cool feature. And we provide that to you at no cost. As long as you're an active broker with us, we by all means, we want to help you and help your vendors become successful. As it says at the bottom, it's all about relationships. That's true to this day. I know there's a lot of talk about AI out there and how that's going to be the new things. What I still believe in to this day, though, is that how broker and funding source relations should always be is to be about relationships, developing an understanding between one another, what type of deals that we want to take, what type of deals that you guys have available to sell. We always want to hear your guys' stories and provide ways to make deals happen for you guys, because I think that's the end all be all at the end of the day. I don't think necessarily, and this is just me speaking on my own behalf, not necessarily the Navitas, is that AI provides a lot of great functionalities and great tools, but at the end of the day, I would much rather speak to someone in person and get to know them over a machine. So I think I can speak on behalf of Navitas and all of that. We want to hear from you guys. We want to do what's best for you guys. And as you guys become more successful, we become more successful. So by all means, we want to do whatever we can to help take you guys, to the next step. That ends my slideshow for today. I would like to open this moment to any questions or comments that anyone has.
Great. And just as a reminder, please go to the Q&A box and type your questions in, and we will get them answered for you. There is a question, I guess it just says private party sales. I guess.
Yes, the answer is yes. We do consider private party sales, both titled and non-titled. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of extra work that we have to go through to verify that the customer or the seller owns that equipment. But by all means, we're willing to do any type of private party sale.
Give it just a minute for any other questions that might come in. What is required on a startup company 0 to 1 years?
0 to 1 years, I believe it is a 700 FICO score or above. We do ask for home ownership, bank statements, as well as we'd like to have just a general write-up about the customer. Like, have they been in the industry for a long time, or is this a fresh, or is this customer just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I want to be a truck driver," type of thing? We'd like to have just a better understanding of what their background is in terms of that.
Yeah. Will you consider refinances or cash outs?
Unfortunately, not at this time. We're not offering any sort of refi or cash out products. Or excuse me, let me rephrase that a little bit. We do have a cash plus program available to our brokers that allow you to add additional cash to the financing, subject to credit, of course. That type of product we do allow, but in terms of pure refis or cash out refis, unfortunately, we do not.
Okay. Will you consider box trucks or trades for local delivery?
Yes, of course. Yeah, box trucks I know have been a little bit of a hot topic lately. By no means, though, have we restricted. Neither broker division has restricted box trucks from usage. We are a little bit more cautious in terms of how old the box truck is. I want to say that which we're trying right now to stay with under 8 years time of business, and then the mileage, depending on if it's I think for gas it's 100,000 miles, and diesel it's under 250, I believe. But if it fits that requirements, by all means, we would love the opportunity to take a look at them.
Right. I'm not seeing any other. Oh, here we go. Do you finance restaurant franchise deals for brokers, startups in this industry?
Yes, we do offer startups for the franchise industry. Obviously, it really kind of depends on how. Oh, excuse me. Let me rephrase. We do startups for the restaurant industry. We do not do startups for franchises. We definitely try to aim for franchises that have, or franchisors have been in business and have at least established shop. Actually, I believe both divisions, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't allow second locations expansion deals, but we'll always look at the customers that have at least 2 locations or more. We're always willing to help out, versus, as well as, if it's a small restaurant type of deal and it's within that $50,000 limit, as long as it makes sense. The customer's been in the industry for a long time. Maybe they're finally branching off on their own. They need a POS system, something of that nature. Yes, we can look at those type of deals.
Okay. Do you have a minimum monthly volume requirement for brokers?
I will say, in terms of the broker divisions, the Nebraska office, Ultimate Financing, does not have any sort of monthly volume requirements. I believe that the South Carolina branch does have I don't think it's a monthly requirement, but I think it is a quarterly requirement of at least you try to fund one deal a quarter type of thing. Neither one of us necessarily believe in having a strict number in terms of that, because there's so many different brokers at so many different phases of life. In terms of, you have some that have 100 sales reps and they book $10 million a year type of thing, versus you have smaller broker shops that are maybe one-man armies. We can't expect the one-man armies to sit there and compete with the 50 sales rep type of thing. So Nebraska does not have any monthly requirements. South Carolina has a very, very small quarterly requirement.
Gotcha. All right. I don't see any other questions. Give it just a second, because every time I say that, something pops up. But yeah, I don't see anything. So we will go ahead and wrap it up for today. And I want to say a big thanks to all of our participants, and especially our valued funding source member and silver sponsor, Navitas Partner Funding. Thanks for a great job, Alex.
Thank you.
We invite everyone to meet with Navitas in person at the Commercial Financing Expo coming up this September in Austin. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.